I took a deep dive and revisited your column and your interview with Joe Mazzulla from December of 2022, and I read it a number of times. It took a number of times to really have it sink in the weight of the words of this young man. And he's still a young man, but he's led by his faith first and foremost. But I just wondered, knowing him and watching him, how did he grow into this role to be the leader of this group of men, in your opinion?
Well, he was put in a very, very tough situation, as you know, with Ime Udoka being pushed out of his position. And then all of a sudden, he's this interim coach with no experience, who recently sat behind the bench and only coached at like a D3 school. But since the day he walked in, the players have respected him. He's gained their trust. And he just never seemed fazed by this position, man. He's certainly very, very confident in himself and his abilities. You know, he was asked about only the second time in NBA history that they had 2 black head coaches. And he said, well, what about my Christian faith? So I think a lot of people were taken aback by that. But I think for him, being a Christian supersedes anything. And he did have a shirt on, a religious shirt on, so he's very, very upfront about his faith and what it meant to him. But one thing, as obscure as some people might think he is by some of his odd quotes and everything like that, he certainly is a leader. He certainly is a motivator, and now he's an NBA champion.
You know what I found interesting, Mark? One of the answers he gave about what was important to lead these superstars was to listen. And I think that when you come in with a belief that you can do this, I think the smartest people, I don't care what they do, know what they don't know and want to hear from those, right, that they're trying to lead. What is it that you think? How much do you feel that giving those guys the floor, to empower their voices ultimately earns him the trust that helps them get to this place?
You know, he's very, very smart to come in with no ego. If you look at Al Horford's a couple of years older than him, and that's one of his players. You know, Drew Holiday has a championship, and he doesn't. But from the minute he got the job, he listened, he respected all the other players, he kind of took a step back, and he got a lot of criticism now. You know, Perk was hard on my guy, but he somehow, even through the ups and downs and losing some assistant coaches, put a great staff together. He's losing Charles Lee to the Charlotte Hornets, and he figured it out, and he's certainly now an iconic coach in Celtics history, because if you want to be in that room with K.C. Jones and Red Auerbach and Doc Rivers, you got to win a championship in this town, man. That's what they're about. 18th championship, that's what they're about. Lakers fans don't want to hear that. But now, Joe Mazzulla, I don't know if he smokes cigars, but I hope Red Auerbach's daughter, Randy, is here giving him one, and he's puffing on it right now.
Well, hopefully we're going to visit with him, and I'll, again, I thank you for doing all the heavy lifting, because so much of the interview with you and him will help frame my conversation with him. Mark Spears, I appreciate you always. Be well until next time, okay, my friend?
All right. Love you, brother.
Boston, on their own level, royalty, Celtics and Lakers, but it's 18 for Boston, 1 clear of the Lakers, and there is a giant gap between those two and the Warriors and the Bulls, who have had obviously great years themselves, 7 and 6. But it's the C's, and it's Brian Windhorst who joins us once again. And Wendy, I just go back to you and I in this conversation, right? When I said we were going to have the podcast chat, and we just emptied the bag with all these topics, and we basically landed in the same place. Like, isn't Boston better? Don't they just have more scoring options? Haven't they demonstrated that all year? And in the end, the final analysis of that was basically, yes, this was the outcome that made the most sense. How did we ultimately land where we landed with Boston winning in 5?
Yeah, the best team won, and they won it through a journey. You know, I'm sitting here watching the Celtics celebrate, and I realize over the last 5 or 6 years, I've watched the Celtics season end on this court in misery many times. I watched LeBron come in here in 2018 and win a Game 7 and really break the Celtics' hearts when they were trying to get to the finals, when they were really young, when Tatum and Brown were really young. I was here 2 years ago and watched, there was confetti on this floor, but it was to celebrate the Golden State Warriors championship. Last year I was here for Game 7 when it looked like they were going to pull off this miracle 3-0 comeback, and the Heat stunned them. And I was, watching the Celtics just drag themselves off the floor, stunned that they missed that opportunity. And so it's really just symbolic that this group, and I know they've added pieces along the way, but this group has really come through a lot. You know, not every championship is special, Scott. All of them are incredibly hard to win, but not everyone is manufactured the same way. And the championships that are truly grown up and you go through misery and you build it from the roots and you go all the way and build it into this big, giant, huge moment, those are the ones that are most special. And this Celtics team has been absolutely gone through the misery, you know, gone through swinging for Kevin Durant and missing, gone through the Ime Udoka, you know, they thought they might have that special moment, and then the near miss with had to leave the organization unceremoniously. So this moment has been a very, very long time, you know, in the making, and the Celtics absolutely earned it, both from that journey and the way they played throughout this whole season and this whole postseason.
The team they just played got to this place for the first time, and when you talk growth, I think in listening to Kyrie, I feel like we clearly hear it. This is a guy that's in a different place than he's been in years past. I asked him point blank, am I wrong to say I see more joy? And he goes, no, that's accurate. And so he helps. And then Luka, obviously he's a young guy, and he's a great talent, but there's clear room for growth for him. And I just wonder, do teams follow the blueprint? Like, teams just aren't patient, you know what I mean? And it's hard. You need a lot of things to go your way. But I feel like there's a clear sort of message here to Dallas if they stay the course with what they've got. What's the sense of the growth that is required for them moving forward?
Yeah. I feel really strongly that at some point in the future, you and I are going to be talking, and instead of there being white and green on the floor and this confetti, that it would be blue for the Mavericks, because Luka Doncic is too special of a talent, too great of a player not to get back and improve on it. And just like I described what it took for the Celtics to get there,
right,
I think Doncic is in the middle of going through that. He is such a special player, but you know, he is still at the beginning of that journey. And Kyrie, I think, understands that. And Kyrie is in the middle of building this. You know, he has the ring. He doesn't need to prove anything, but he's still at this journey with the Mavericks. He did not play well in the 3 games here in Boston. Now, the Mavericks lost this series for a number of reasons. It wasn't just Kyrie, but while Kyrie is taking this with great maturity and somebody who's been seen a lot, he's going to look in the mirror at some point and realize he didn't deliver his best either. I did think we would have needed something incredibly special from Luka and Kyrie just to get to Game 6. The proper team won. That doesn't mean what happened here won't be very meaningful for Luka and the Mavs in potentially the very near future.
When we get a chance to visit with some of the Celtics and hopefully their head coach, Joe Mazzulla, I'm going to ask them what I'm going to ask you. And your insight is certainly valued. It's just different because it's from the outside looking in. Do you see this tonight, Brian, as a finish line for this Celtics group or as a launch point to something beyond?
Well, they're all so young, and the way the structure of the team is and the way the rules are, they will be able to bring this team back next year. They will be in position to really seriously defend their championship. I'm not sure what the situation with Kristaps Porzingis is going to be. I think it's a pretty serious injury, but there's no reason they can't bring this team back. In 2 years from now, that's when the rules and the money are going to bite, because in the next few days, Jason Tatum is getting $315 million, and they're going to have to extend Derek White before too long, and that money is going to get crazy. But tonight's not the night to talk about money. What I'm here to tell you is there's no reason why we can't be right back here next year with this confetti coming down, celebrating number 19. But it's not going to be easy. I know it looked easy this year. Some things went their way, and it's only right because some things went against them in years past, but they earned it, and they'll have a great opportunity to do it again next year.
Well, at some point, those Celtics are going to come out, and they're going to come out of the tunnel where the winners come out. And, Brian, you're great. I appreciate you, and I look forward to texting with you in the fall about football and then eventually about big-ass lightning bolts in Kent State and all that good stuff. All right? You stay well until we cross paths.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Have a great night.
One big thing.
Math is not our strength on this show, as we've described through the years, but let's start with some numbers here to ponder. The obvious launch point here, 18, as in banners, the most in the history of the NBA. Boston gets there with an emphatic Game 5 win after somehow they trailed by 48 in their lone loss in the finals. That's just kind of a comical footnote. The C's went 16-3 in the playoffs, simply a continuation of who they were all season long. All told, the Boston Celtics won 80 games in the regular season and the playoffs. This is who they were from October forward. Never lost more than 3 games in a row. They led half their games by at least 20 points, which makes you wonder why anyone wondered about them. But it's a league that's about stars and static and drama and beef and chatter. And you know what Boston kind of was, or I guess is? Maybe boring, but in the best possible way. Their 35-year-old head coach, Joe Mazzulla, is serious business at all times. Their stars, Tatum and Brown, they don't traffic in nonsense. They proved that sometimes, if you're actually patient in this incredibly impulsive world and you let things bake, things work out. And what have you heard me say throughout the years that's as big a compliment as I can pay any player or any team? All cake, no icing. The Celtics were all substance, and that is what you want. They just won all year long, and they continued steamrolling to the duck boats. Were obstacles eliminated along the way due to injury? Yep, they sure were. You know what you'll notice about banners, wherever they might hang? There are not asterisks on them. People won't look at this one and talk about who the Celtics did not face. That's never how it works, and it shouldn't, because this is who Boston has been throughout this season. The best team in the NBA. Congrats to them, champions of the world.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here,